So we see women issues in the economy just coming under the spotlight as the Graça Machel Trust pushed this summit to ensure that these barriers are broken in moving women into spaces of wealth. So here we have women from the continent just gathering under the same umbrella in Johannesburg, just really to take stock on some of the gaps that have been picked up over time. And we see that Graça Machel Trust moving to commission a study here, working with the African Union, whereby they'll just give us a sense of some of those gaps that have existed over time, but it's all about positioning women to really take advantage of the economy in breaking down some of these barriers. So those entrepreneurs are here, but also, again, we found the Women Economic Assembly here at home that has been really taking stock as well on some of those women issues. They've held conferences as well around some of the gaps that have existed over time. We see them here today to really form part of these greater conversations as we structure these solutions in not leaving women behind. I'm going to bring Dr. Futhi into the conversation with us, Dr. Futhi Mtoba, who'll just give us a sense of the importance of just ensuring that we take stock, especially where the continent is concerned. Really, we can never overemphasize the need to really ensure that we are all on the same page. We see South Africa not doing it alone. The Graça Machel Trust just more or less penetrating the continent in terms of these economies. And we see day one also just looking at the learnings, really, whereby some of these gaps exist. And we see Graça Machel also saying that these issues can really more or less, we can overcome them if we ensure that there is greater collaboration here. Maybe give us a sense of what you've been picking up. Let's start here at home in South Africa, and then we'll move into the continent in terms of some of those gaps that have existed, not moving women into those spaces of wealth. Welcome.
Thank you. One of the most critical part of today's conversation is the fact that the challenges that we face are big. Therefore, there is no one entity that can solve it alone. So Mam Graça explained it very well, that collaboration and in fact solidarity, which means I feel what you're talking about. What that means is that it shouldn't be a collaboration of women businesses. It must also be the whole economy, the whole continent. Everyone must be obsessed about how do we make it possible that women participate meaningfully in the economy, in the productive economy, not remain on the sides. So that is the very important part. So the Women Economic Assembly focuses on women in the supply chain. 17 of the sector of industry that are identified by the Department of Trade Competition. Why is it important that we then have a continental space? Our conversation is about how do women participate in the economy, how do women access markets, markets in South Africa, markets in the African continent, given the opportunity that the Free Africa trade provides now for women. So we have to be talking together. We have to take stock of where we are. This is why we always start with data, so that whatever solutions we come up with, they are based on evidence that shows us where the gaps are, so that the solutions are tailor-made to solve the problems. And we also hear matters that are repeated over time, and so we therefore can say, how can we innovate or do things differently so that we can change this? So we have today, and we will have over the 3 days as we participate in this very important conversation, representatives from policy, different sectors, and there will be a lot of knowledge sharing and how we can improve the participation of women in the economy.
And Dr. Futhi, one of the things that we saw coming out of the study that, the Trust has been working on, even with the African Union as well, is around the women still left behind, especially even in the labor sector. We see the issue of unemployment really being so high. And we know very well that these entrepreneurs would position themselves to close some of these gaps. How important is it that we support these entrepreneurs, we support these businesses so that they're able to come through for us in terms of attending to some of the socioeconomic challenges that we've experienced, the high unemployment rate here in South Africa?
What we have found over the 3 years of the Women Economic Assembly is that you do have to have targeted interventions. And you also have to have key matrix that you look at. How do you measure progress? So the ecosystem has been one of those critical factors. What do we mean by that? We mean that when women are employed in organization, they are doing meaningful work, which is technical. Therefore, it prepares them to either ascend to the C-suite of those companies or go out there as entrepreneurs. So they're prepared for that. Secondly, are there women in the ecosystem of that organization where they are working? We're looking at women in leadership. We're looking at women in decision making. Because if you have such women in decision making as well, they understand issues that women bring with them into the labor force. Therefore, they address that. What am I talking about? Things that you might believe are simple, like have you got facilities for the women to look after their children? Have you got a system to support the women should they encounter domestic violence? Is the enterprise itself progressive enough to accept women? You do not have issues of sexual harassment in the workplace. So these are so many issues that we really have to work together to create an environment that's not only welcoming, but support women from the spaces at which it finds them.
And just briefly before we let you go, Dr. Futhi, where are we with the 40% procurement? Because we know very well that even inside, this is something that South Africa was lauded on, to say that at least we see policies coming through to ensure that the women are prioritized, especially where procurement efforts are concerned, coming from the country. Where are we?
This is very exciting in that from the onset, we understood that this is not going to be a day's project. It will be a project that takes targeted initiative. So we are encouraged by the fact that we are now working collectively as women. And also, if you work through the supply chain of industry, you are then able to measure the progress. So how much are companies procuring from women, and how many women suppliers, how many women work in the organization. So this year, our next week corner, you will be seeing us launching the Women Economic Empowerment Index, where we will be tabulating where these sectors are, product by product, and supply by supply, so that then we are able to look at this every year to measure our progress, instead of us being anecdotal about the progress. So at the moment, we don't have that tool yet, but starting from, we have 3 sectors that have signed up, 1 sector that had actually launched their own tool. So we are very excited about this because it means industry is taking this agenda very seriously.